Good evening, Wisdom class. Welcome to the next lesson in Chapter 4 in Cells and Classification. This is Lesson 45, and we're covering pages 88 through 89. We're going to be talking about cell reproduction. We talked about before that all living organisms are made of cells, but there are some organisms that are only one cell, and that's what we call unicellular. Uni means one, organisms that are made of one cell. And this organism is called a euglena. It's an example of a unicellular organism. However, most organisms are not unicellular. They're what we call multicellular, or they have more than one cell. Most organisms are multicellular, and you are multicellular. You are made up of trillions of cells. We talked about also in our lesson today that everything in your body, or everything in an organism, begins with a cell. It could be that some of your parts in your body are muscle cells, or some of them are skin cells, or some of them are bone cells. This is an example of the order of how things are grouped together. This is what we call an example of a cardiac cell, and cardiac means heart. So in the beginning it starts with just one cell, but a group of cells forms what we call a tissue. And then groups of tissue work together to form what is called an organ. So cardiac cells make the tissues for the heart. Cardiac means heart. And then along with other organs, it creates what is called a system. This is what your circulatory system looks like. Your heart plus all the veins make your circulatory system. So it goes from cell to tissue, which is a group of cells, to an organ, which is a group of tissues working together. And then these different organs make what we call a system. Now, cells, everything is made of cells, but cells eventually will die, and they have to be reproduced. Through this example called mitosis, this is how cells will reproduce themselves. You start off with one cell, or what is called a parent cell, and what happens, this is through mitosis, this is how an organism will grow and replace dead cells. It starts off with a cell that has 4 chromosomes, and then each chromosome will make a copy of itself. So now instead of 4, it has 8. In the next part, the chromosomes will move to opposite ends, okay, of the cell. In the next part, in each part where the cells are on the opposite end, a new nucleus is made. So the word nuclei is plural for nucleus. So each part of this reproduction is making a new nucleus. And then finally, the cells divide in 2. They begin to divide in 2. And when you are finished with mitosis, you'll have 2 brand new cells, each with 4 chromosomes that are exactly like the parent cell. This is how for example, your skin reproduces new skin cells. When you have dead skin cells and your body makes new skin cells, the cells that are made are not bone cells, okay? They are replacing the old dead skin cells. And it needs to be exactly like the old skin cells. In this one, this is what we call meiosis. Meiosis is important. This is how new organisms are made. Instead of like mitosis, where the cell divides once and you make 2 cells that are exactly the same, here the cells divide 2 times and it ends up with 4 daughter cells. But in the second time, the chromosomes do not duplicate. Okay? The different cells move to opposite ends after the second division. And then after the division is complete, you'll have 4 daughter cells, but each of these cells are not the same as the parent cells. They have half the number of chromosomes as the parent cells do. Okay, this is when we have meiosis. This is what we call sexual reproduction, or the making of a new organism. Meiosis only happens with your reproductive organs, or your reproductive cells. Some of those cells are male, and some of those cells are female, boys and girls. Okay, so males will have male reproductive organs, and females will have female reproductive cells. Each of your cells and in your reproductive organs has half the chromosomes of where you came from, your parents. And then eventually your reproductive cells will join with other reproductive cells to make a new organism. So male reproductive cells and then female reproductive cells will unite and make a new organism. Then, after that new organism is created, through mitosis, that organism will begin to grow. For instance, if a dog has a puppy, it doesn't stay small. It will grow and develop just like all living organisms do. Okay, so go ahead and read these 2 pages and be ready with questions tomorrow, and I'll see you then.